That was National Assembly Bill number 52 of 2023. This understanding was thereafter communicated to the Cabinet Office on 28 February 2024. We consequently went ahead to make our contribution to the National Assembly Departmental Committee on Parliamentary Broadcasting and Library in the same month, and on that same month. And I believe the same Committee of Parliament consulted the State Law Office to work on that bill. And we are happy that they have brought back the bill to the State Law Office for further inputs. I therefore do reiterate my gratitude to the Office of the Attorney General for its renewed drive towards development of the legislation on public participation. The Office of Parliamentary Affairs shall be reverting with preliminary comments as requested in the invite. Nevertheless, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to highlight two comments on this matter. One, there is a current appreciation of what needs to be done in order to realize meaningful public participation. Under this current appreciation, the government duplicates public participation for matters to be considered by the two arms of government. We have public participation conducted by the National Executive under Articles 10(2), 69(1)(d), 201(a), and 232(1)(d) of the Constitution. The same matter are again subjected to Article 118, public participation when they transit to Parliament. As a result, colleagues, there is inefficient utilization of time as well as limited resources available to us as a country. It has also meant that the timelines for delivery of legislative agenda are dictated in a big way by how quickly an MDA can marshal financial resources to push their initiatives past public participation, and more particularly to facilitate the region or county level public participation forums. This point is key because of the resource aspect of it. And I want to request as we progress, we consider that. Our policy proposal invites us to eliminate this duplicity embedded in our current public participation practice. This invite is supported by the fact that the government of Kenya is one with various arms charged with distinct functions. Where processes require both arms of government, the executive should be extremely empowered to undertake targeted public participation, otherwise known as stakeholder engagement, while Parliament, as the law-making and representation arm of government, conducts its Article 118, public participation. It is to be noted that Parliament's public participation is further strengthened by the standing orders and various provisions of the Parliamentary Service Act. Open public participation should, however, apply for matters that either terminate in the executive or which Parliament doesn't subject to public participation under Article 118. Such matters include statutory instruments, public policy, and such aspects of programs and projects that terminate at the executive. I'm happy to note the legislative proposal addresses the duplication of public participation efforts as between the National Assembly and the Senate under Clause 15 of the proposal that we are looking at now. We can similarly explore the possibility of taking it even further by addressing the duplicities as between the two arms of government. I invite the Office of the AG to consider the constitutionality of this proposal and the possibility of introducing a clause in the bill that recognizes open public participation and targeted public participation as categories of public participation. Ladies and gentlemen, that was one aspect. The second aspect, as I finish, relates to the development of specific public participation guidelines. While good in idea, this provision prevents implementation challenges which should be ironed out. I proceed to demonstrate. One, as I noted earlier in the remarks that I've given, some sector laws have public participation set out as part of the general values and principles guiding the application of the law. Others have entire chapters titled Public Participation and Access to Information, while others provide for regulations on public participation. Two, from a coordination perspective, the requirement for specific guidelines and the adoption of the general guidelines set out in the bill may likely cause a conflict of laws between the standalone public participation law and sector laws that already provide for public participation modalities. Should a public entity apply the modalities under its sector law, or should it apply the guidelines under the public participation law? This presents a compliance puzzle. 3, to forestall this potential conflict, the Office of the AG may consider amending the bill to either exempt the application of Part 4 on specific guidelines for public participation to public entities whose sector laws have expressed provisions on public participation, or include a conflict of laws provision that prevails the public participation law in case of conflict with another law. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a very good initiative, and once we get this, or we deliver this, we shall be right as a country in terms of how we process our policy, legal, and institutional frameworks. I most sincerely thank the Office of the AG for this opportunity and look forward to the much needed legislative settlement on this issue of public participation. I thank you.
Two things have come in. Initially, when we planned this event, we didn't have an idea that another bigger event would be taking place within these premises, and therefore, a number of our invited guests have gone to the other, program. But we would want that in about an hour we are done, and therefore you would allow me to make very few remarks, and then I allow our MC to proceed. It's with great pleasure that I welcome you to this breakfast meeting that marks the launch of the development of a legislative framework for public participation in Kenya. Your presence here today is a reflection of our collective commitment to enhancing democratic governance in our country. The concept of public participation in Kenya has evolved over the years. Before the promulgation of the 2010 Constitution, governance in Kenya was characterized by limited public engagement. The promulgation of 2010 Constitution was a major step forward in enshrining the principle of public participation in our governance process. Kenya has made significant efforts to enshrine the principle of public participation in various pieces of legislation and institutional mechanisms. For example, Part 8 of the County Governments Act provides for citizens' participation in counties. It also sets out the principles to guide citizens' participation, modalities, platforms for citizen participation. In practice, various initiatives have been rolled out by public bodies and agencies to encourage public engagement. Public forums, town hall meetings, and online platforms have been used to gather input from the public. However, the absence of a comprehensive legislative framework for public participation poses significant challenges, including inconsistency in the manner that the public participation is conducted across different sectors and levels of government. Exploitation of inclusion gaps where the marginalized and minority groups have not been adequately engaged, leading to decisions that do not adequately reflect the diversity of our society, and the legal and procedural uncertainty that has resulted in disputes over the legitimacy of decisions made without public participation. Ladies and gentlemen, cognizant of these challenges, the Kenya policy on public participation was developed by the Office of the Attorney General and Department of Justice and approved by the Cabinet, and is pending approval by Parliament. The main objective of the policy is to provide comprehensive framework for the management and coordination of public participation in Kenya for the fulfillment of constitutional requirements on citizen engagement in development and governance processes in the country. Several public participation bills have been submitted to Parliament for consideration, including the Public Participation Bill 2024, which was officially handed over to our office on the 5th of September 2024 by the Clerk of the National Assembly. The Office of the Attorney General and Department of Justice has taken on the responsibility of overseeing the development of a sound legislative framework for public participation. As we commence the development process, we recognize that your input as stakeholders will be invaluable. As representatives of civil society organizations, government agencies, community groups, and the private sector, your insights will play a crucial role in crafting a robust and effective framework for public participation. Once again, I want to thank you all for being here today and for your commitment to this process. Without much ado, ladies and gentlemen, I want now to say that you are coming here. Please, and you note, we want your invaluable contribution, participation, because public participation, if you realize, you go to any court, you would very easily get an order because you will be told that the public participation was not done. And therefore, this process today, which we are starting, and which will be shortly providing a roadmap on how we want to proceed, we would be able to come up with the legislation that would enable us to settle this long-standing issue of public participation. And therefore, I just want to recognize those who have joined us. If I have not seen you, our MC will continue recognizing us. As I said, we want to recognize our peers, Aurelia, Rono, who has been very, very, very committed to this process. Aurelia, just a hearty clap for Aurelia, our peers. We want to recognize COG, Mr. Tom Gataka, welcome. We want to recognize Rehema Chebet. We want to recognize Dennis Abisai from National Assembly, Dr. Mogesa from KNCGR. We want to recognize Florence Mumbi from CAJ, and many, many, many others who have come, and we will continue to recognize you. Today is a breakfast meeting, and we want you to feel at home. Don't feel shy. Don't even think that we are few. We are many. The message we send home today is one that the process has simply started. Let us not make a mistake. This is just but a process that would finally culminate in the Attorney General, the Honorable Attorney General submitting a draft bill to the National Assembly. With those many remarks, I now want to, on a transformative journey, the development of a comprehensive legislative framework for public participation. The Constitution of Kenya makes the participation of the people an integral aspect of Kenya's governance system, and it is recognized in Article 10 of the Constitution as a national value and principle of governance. Since 2010, there have been increasing efforts by the national government and county governments to involve the public in governance. However, the lack of clear guidelines on public participation continues to undermine these efforts. In the recent past, we have seen several landmark court decisions that have defined not only the procedural elements of public participation, but also the qualitative aspects of public engagement. These decisions have provided us with invaluable insights into how public participation should be incorporated into our legislative framework. On 5th of September 2024, my office formally received the Public Participation Bill from the Clerk of the National Assembly and assumed the responsibility of advancing the bill to its next stages. The bill aims to create a legislative framework for public participation that ensures enhanced inclusivity, transparent procedures, robust feedback mechanisms, and strengthened accountability. Ladies and gentlemen, in the year 2013, the Office of the Attorney General and Department of Justice prepared a concept paper on the development of a policy on public participation, which was subjected to the stakeholder review in 2014. The policy underwent extensive stakeholder consultation with both state and non-state actors. The policy was approved by Cabinet on 16 May 2023 and assigned sessional paper number 3 of 2023 on 9th of June 2023. It was forwarded to the National Assembly on 22nd April 2024 and is currently before the Senate Standing Committee on Justice, Legal Affairs and Human Rights and the National Assembly Justice and the Legal Affairs Committee for consideration. The policy provides a broad framework and minimum standards for effective public participation. The policy underscores key constitutional principles on public participation, including democratic governance, inclusivity, transparency, and accountability. The policy provides solid foundation for developing a legislative framework that promotes meaningful and effective public engagement, and we believe that by securing stakeholders' consensus, we will be able to give effect to the objects of the policy and the several legislative initiatives by the executive and the legislature. As we embark on this journey, we recognize that this process is not merely about drafting a bill, but it's also about developing a framework that is well-informed, is robust, is practical, and is responsive. I want to assure you that my office is committed to a consultative approach, and we hope to gain from your wealth of experience, knowledge, and perspectives as we undertake this important process. In the coming days, my office will undertake a comprehensive assessment of public participation landscape in Kenya. We will review existing practices and mechanisms with a view to identify gaps and opportunities for improvement. This phase will involve consultations with stakeholders across various sectors. Based on the feedback we receive, my office will proceed to revise the Public Participation Bill 2024 to ensure that it is constitutionally sound and reflects the highest standards of best practice. In keeping with the spirit of this process, the revised bill would be made available for public review as and when it has been finalized. I want to assure you that we are committed to fostering a collaborative environment throughout the development process, your continued support in that direction would be most welcome. I therefore now officially declare this public participation occasion officially open, and we are going to allow the various stakeholders through our MC your comments for about 3 to 4 minutes, as indeed this is just but the start of a long journey, but a journey that we must also determine within the shortest but the reasonable period, for Kenyans are anxiously waiting for this legislation to come into place. Thank you so much and welcome.